Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Friday. Hashtag askrobco. Hope you're well. Hope you all had a good week, or your spirits are as high as they can be in the current situation that we find ourselves in. I'm super excited for today's guest, Paul Clark. A real, I would say, inspiration and motivation for many of you out there, the ones that have come across him will know. The ones that haven't, you're going to get to hear a bit of his story and his journey today and see where that resonates and fits within you. A bit of background: 20 years in events, that's his specialist field and his main area. What we're going to talk about today is more his journey, what's taken him there, and some of the things that he's faced in life, and share a bit of insight into how he's developed, grown, and progressed, and that general positivity and happiness, even in the darkest of moments, as a pandemic may be, or whatever moment you might face in life. So, huge welcome. Thank you for your time, Paul. Thanks for coming up and giving up half an hour on this Friday afternoon. Before I give you the show and the platform to give us your story and intro, everyone that knows the format is quite straightforward. You've got the questions tab on the right hand side. You write the questions, we will give you the answers, and get through as many of them as we can. So follow that. And Paul, welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me, and it's a pleasure. Thank you for asking me. I always, if anybody asks me to share, I'm always forthcoming and the first there. So thank you for having me. I'm excited.
You're welcome. So let's go all the way back. Tell us your story, where you come from, your background, life growing up. How did you get to be where you are today? 20 years in events, and some of the trials and tribulations you faced along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I always start off any talk that I do just advising anybody that's listening to look for the similarities rather than the indifferences, because that's what makes us better human beings. And it's not, unfortunately, it's not all roses. But then again, through recovery, I work a STEP program as a result of some of my challenges that I've faced. And it's been a really beautiful spiritual process, and being able to identify that my past was leading to this moment, to where we are right now in the present. And I'm very grateful of my past, whereas before I kind of torn myself in between. I was battling with my experiences. I was always battling against the grain of life, which in effect was causing me more chaos and causing me more harm and suffering. So, the past, although the purpose of the story is just to hopefully get some identification with others, because we all have our own story. We all have different things that have happened within our lives that have maybe caused us to go off piece and go in directions that perhaps we, first of all, were very uncomfortable to go. And some people get lost on that road. They can end up or what they believe to be nowhere, but actually it's the best opportunity for them to be the best human being they can possibly be if they embrace it in the present. So, my past, I come from, from a young age, I had a lot of bullying. I was quite overweight, and I endured a lot of bullying with nobody to talk to. So initially, I started to bottle up and create a lot of internal resilience, but in a negative way, to not being able to speak up about any issues that I faced during my life. So the bullying was an initial starting point, and then came sort of reaching sort of a young adulthood, exploring using drugs, alcohol, partying, women, pornography, all these kind of pleasures really that I thought were going to help me create the better human being that I was going to become. And a big family breakup, a divorce, which obliterated me internally, which again I didn't speak up much on, but I found the use of drugs and alcohol as a means to be able to navigate my way through life. It was, every time the weekend came, that was my lifestyle. That's what I lived for. And slowly that got dramatically out of hand, very much, although it seemed like fun now looking back. I didn't really, they say the fork in the road is a lot earlier than when you expect it. And that's the beauty of recovery, is you can sort of navigate, you can see when you're starting to let defects flare up. And I guess I'd never seen my behavior as a problem until, I had my first child. I had my son, and You know, that was, again, I continued to live my life that way, you know, living for the weekend. It was all about money. It was about women. It was about, you know, just going out and getting off my head all the time, because it was where I was okay. That was where all the troubles, all the problems, everything, all the anxieties, all the depression went. But when it came to Monday, I always use this terminology. Imagine, you know, sort of building the perfect sandcastle on a beach, and then suddenly the wave comes and rips it all away, and you've got to start all over again. That was a Monday to Thursday, you know, Monday to Thursday process, rebuilding my families, rebuilding my relationships with people, and it was just unhealthy, and to the point where it becomes an ongoing struggle and a spiral, an uncontrollable, unmanageable process. And that is a very scary and disturbing place to be. And through surrender, through living life differently, through working recovery in my life, and also just bringing in some beliefs, you know, some real strong beliefs and spiritual beliefs that have helped guide me to my higher self and best action. And I think that's grossly important. I don't necessarily, I'm not religious. I know I'm wearing this massive cross, but actually it's more for, well, it means a lot to me, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm not religious. I have beliefs that there is something greater at work, which has helped me navigate my way to being happy in life, being positive, understanding life as a journey, a wonderful journey, rather than actually working against it. And in situations like COVID, where, you know, it's been very disruptive for me, I've actually looked at it as a blessing, because that's what my journey is destined to go on. A different route, is determined to go down a new road, and that road is beautiful. It's a great opportunity. But what we tend to do is we're so tightly knotted up in the fact that we fear change, we fear the uncertainty, and we resent going down that road. And if anything, we fight against it. Which, there's an old saying: if you're the main cause of unhappiness is not being okay with the present moment, with things that are out of our control, we have to trust that they're leading us to a new way of life. And that is where I've been now. I've been sober and clean now for 14 months. I was never a dependent drug addict or alcoholic, and I never used things. I only used it as a means to getting a release from life on life's terms. And that was the main transformation, when I accepted life on life's terms, and I looked for the opportunity for growth as a human being, to become the best version of myself, which isn't money orientated. Doesn't mean having wealth, success necessarily. It just means genuinely being the best human I can be, and giving back through compassion, kindness, and love.
Amazing. Listen, I can just hear in your voice and the words that come out of your mouth that you've been through so much on your journey, and I don't say this in a bad way, but I can feel your hurt and your suffering. Like it's something that has clearly defined you and had such a major impact on you, in a positive way, to bring you where you are today. Um, um, let's go back to a couple of points that you mentioned, and two major moments in life. Let's do the family breakup and the child. When did those two things happen? What age were you? And because I don't think people understand the psychological damage of a family breakup, especially when you don't understand what it's doing to you, and especially when you don't speak to anyone about it. It kind of messes with your head. Maybe if that's all right, you can talk through those two things.
For the purpose of time as well, because obviously cautious of that, because there is a lot to it that can be covered. It all happened at a very young age, really, and at a young age, you're at your most vulnerable. You're like a sponge. You're learning things. You're taking everything on board, every emotion. You're watching everything. There's a lack of understanding. There's that confusion. So it's difficult, so in my step work, I have to, on a step 4 inventory, I have to write this information down. I have to turn it over to my sponsor and talk him through it. So by doing that, I was looking for somebody to blame. That's what you do. And in fact, you do that. You just do it unconsciously. So, you know, for many years of my life, I blamed parents, I blamed other people, I blamed relationships. Everything was a matter of blame, but actually there's nobody to blame, because people, even the most horrible situations that can happen, which we don't need to go into, which didn't happen to me, but I've heard of in people that have, you know, turned to using drugs, or just, you know, sometimes not even using drugs, just acting out in their behaviors, you know, not having very good relationships with people, being introverts, you know, that's all come from experience, because they don't know where to navigate. What you've got to remember is generation after generation, right now, especially in spiritualism, and meditation and mindfulness and all these fantastic skills that are being brought to the table. We're now starting, neuroscience is now starting to catch up with what these Indian dudes have been talking about for 600 years. They're starting to realize that this stuff works. The problem we had is, certainly my father and mother's generation, and everybody who's my age can probably vouch for this, is I don't think many people worked programs in their life in terms of understanding their past. They kind of just let it go and deal with it, but they don't deal with it. They think they've dealt with it. They just kind of just put it in the back burner. If you imagine sat in front of a car and you keep writing a problem down on a piece of paper and you keep filling it, at some point all that's going to come forward, and then you're going to not be able to drive the car. And that's the problem. That's why we have so much mental health, is we're not able to release that information and deal with it in the right way. So how I would go about dealing with it is actually just practicing acceptance. I understand. I do not blame my mum and dad for breaking up, because it's led them to be happy now. But they weren't working a program like I am. So, you know, I'm not going to get it bang right with my kids. I never will, because I'll never pretend I'm perfect, because we're ever evolving creatures. But certainly I will be able to advise if there are situations that I think are going to grossly affect my child's way of life. And again, you'll never get it right, but I work a program, which I'm now trying to teach that program to my son, because everybody should be working some kind of program in their life that looks after their mental health.
So let's talk about that in a bit more detail, because it's an area that I resonate, and a lot of the listeners do as well. So with me, I've come across a lot of, whether it's mindfulness, Pilates, yoga, breathing, programs, however you want to structure it. I'm a massive believer of that. And through default, I've created my own program that allows me to live life in the present, be mindful to the best of my ability, and understand the macro and micro of what is happening in the world and what's happening to me on a daily basis, to be able to interpret or manage those situations. So talk us through your program that allows you to be yourself, to be balanced, and to have this positive effect on your life and hopefully the people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, we've created a world, because remember, as creatures, as human beings as well, we forget of the evolution of everything. We're actually babies. You know, if you put a baby in a room with all the elements, it's going to cause absolute chaos, right? So we are still babies. We're still very infinite in our being. We're still trying to figure this all out. And there's a lot of literature, a lot of books, which is something I'll put into my program in a second, that can really help you understand that we are not the finished article. And, you know, look at cases like governments, social conspiracies, fake news. You know, I've just been watching this program on Netflix actually about the social dilemma. You know, all this technology, all this stuff, we've kind of got it wrong. We're kind of destined for, we're put on there's so many expectations of us, that we have to make money, we have to have families, we have to build careers. There's so much worry, there's so much anxiety. All this stuff is all kind of happening around us, and we can't change that. That's the one thing that I try to. It's not like I can just rewrite the whole thing, because that evolution, we are moving somewhere. It might not be in our generation, it might be in 5 or 10 generations' time, but we are moving in that direction. We're a very small part of a much bigger thing. So that's that again, that takes the load off. You know, you don't put so much pressure on yourself. But unfortunately, the world that we've created for ourselves demands us that we have the best job, that we have a bigger house, all these kind of things. But what I do is we actually forget to just be. That's what we're built for. We're here to experience consciousness and just being. And we don't give ourselves enough time. And I work at my recovery, and I think everybody should live their lives without any kind of certain expectation necessarily. You should just trust in life as a process. You obviously have to do things. You can't just sit on your ass and just expect life to happen for you. But especially if you want to have specific goals, but don't attach to those goals necessarily. And just remember, there are ways of just living, being. We have to remember our human nature is human beings in just finding time to just be. That's why yoga is so powerful, because in that moment you're doing nothing apart from being. You're dropping out of the mind. You're not thinking necessarily about how much money have I got in the bank, what am I doing tomorrow, I've got to put the kids to bed. And that inner roommate, that inner voice is constantly talking to you, is winding you up, it's putting pressure on you to go out, and our brains are overloaded. So the idea is, and what I use in my program, of course, I work a 12-step program because of drugs and alcohol that I've used, because it helps me create a new life. And that's what 12 steps is. It's not abstinence, it's about creating a new life for myself, and that's why I do it. But the things and skills that I use is I always read. I never used to read a book, and now I read a book a month. I read books such as The Untethered Soul, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, Deepak Chopra, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. I'm reading a book at the moment by Johann Hari, which is around depression. It talks about prescription drugs, because I never use prescription drugs, but I advise people that do, and I'm trying to incentivize more natural ways. So the natural ways that I would use are the likes of, I meditate every morning. I use 20 minutes. I use prayer and meditation, and I don't have a necessary religious belief, but I have a spiritual belief that I think there's a power greater at work. So I communicate with that. And I set my day up. I ask for forgiveness. I ask for guidance, truth to my higher self, and best action. And I give thanks, because I've got a lot going. You know, I've got businesses, I've got a family, I've got a home, I've got food on the table, I've got lots of things that lots of people don't have. And by giving gratitude, I set my day up effectively. And then mindful moments, just actually bringing yourself into the present moment, you know, taking time to just notice the colors, the sounds, the feelings and sensations, all the things that attribute to you being in the present moment and not living in the past and sodding yourself off into the future, from which is an unwritten book, you know. So it's about bringing it into the present moment and using those skills like meditation, mindfulness in order to do that. Also, you know, some great stuff on, you know, Russell does loads of stuff. I know Russell's through 12 steps, and he's doing some amazing things. Some of it is quite advanced, but there's some stuff that for a beginner that is really, really good. But Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Russell Brand, all wicked sages of our time that are trying to help us be better in life. So those are the kind of things I use in my program.
Great. Just go through some questions that are coming through, Paul, if that's all right. A lot of people have used COVID as a time to reflect and maybe change their direction in life. What is your view on that? And maybe I can add something to it, Paul, in terms of what you previously just discussed about books and reading. So one of the books I preach on this show is Viktor Frankl's Man's, or could be Women's Search for Meaning. Now, for me personally, when I'm in a tough place and COVID or a family situation or a work or a life situation, you're in a dark hole, you've always got to put some kind of perspective, relative perspective on the situation and the moment that's happening. And when you understand Frankl's journey and his thesis, you know, he's lost all definition of what a human being exists for. He's been brought down to a raw skeleton, which has no relationship with humanity. And at the same time, he understands that he has a purpose and a meaning in his life, which is in his head, that is enough to keep his spirit and soul going, because there's an impactful reason and meaning for life, that he understands what it is. for him to get through the suffering and the place that he was at. And so when you can put that kind of context on life and on a situation, then suddenly it's much easier to manage whatever you're going through. The challenge is maybe people don't understand what their meaning is in life. So there's a question mark. And maybe some people can't put context on what's happening around them to be able to have that perspective. So I know I've said a lot there, but maybe share some of your thoughts and views on that, Paul.
Yeah, there's loads there that I've just taken back from what you said. So, you know, we're not meant to understand necessarily, and I know that might be a scary thought, but the minute we kind of let go, we're not, it's people keep saying to me, oh, the uncertainty of COVID. Well, life's uncertain. Everything I do in the present moment is uncertain. I can take a step forward, but that step forward might mean that I trip over a step and break my legs and I'm paralyzed. You know, all these things are uncertainty, and it's that really comes down to beliefs. We have to stop conceptualizing everything we do, which is difficult to do when we're driven by capitalist consumerism. Buy this, take that, take this pill, that'll make you feel better, go out on the weekends, if you drink this you'll have a good time, beautiful people on telly, if you wear this, you know, it's unfortunately it's the world we've created, so you have to learn to live in it. And that is the key, and then it comes back to being again. But my advice to anybody who wants to transform is, if you're looking for a reason for life, to be in life, first of all, just remember it's a very short-lived time, right? And that it is all about experiences. Every day you're going to experience something new, something wonderful, something that, again, change your language from, if you have something that doesn't suit what is an unrealistic goal or requirement in the present moment, look at it as an opportunity for growth. It's directing you to something else. You know, there are books like Conversations with God, which say that our lives are laid out in about a billion, 100 million, trillion different ways. And it's kind of like a computer game, but you're the joystick. So we kind of forget that, you know, this is all one big magic trick, but you're the magician. You're able to create your reality based on what you want, but those wants need to be non-selfish. So, you know, we have to come away from a world of wanting more money, because wanting more money never ends. There's never a utopian. It just becomes more and more and more. And those things are, when we're not here, they're self-man-made created things that we want more of. And what we really want, or certainly what I want, and that's why my life's transformed, is I just want to be the best version of myself I can be, to be able to teach others how they can reach those kind of heights, and how my children can reach those kind of heights, where they can live their lives without stress, without worry. And that comes from giving back. Compassion, kindness should be priority for everything you do, and making sure that COVID is no coincidence, right? We have asked for the past 10 years for some environmental change, and our environment is now growing back as a result of COVID. It's forced us into a different direction. I had a situation, I was smoking when I stopped doing drugs and drinking, and I had a situation on last Saturday when I played rugby, and I was trying to stop smoking. I was in the grips of addiction again, 3 or 4 smokes a day. And I was saying to a power greater than me, I was saying to my recovery, I was like, I want to stop, I want to stop. How can I stop? Please help me stop. And then on the Saturday, I was coughing up blood. Now, hopefully it's nothing serious, because I should go to the doctor. But what I did was, it scared me that much that I was forced to then commit to methods in which I couldn't smoke, patches, to actually committing to you know, non-smoking efforts and methods. So we always ask for things unconsciously, and not expecting sometimes the repercussions that happen. And I know we should all want as a priority for us to create a world that's going to still be here. And this isn't go down the environmental road, but if you've got children, if you're sat there thinking, well, I want to live my best life right now, I don't really care what happens in the next 100 years, then you're not going to go in the same direction as how consciousness perceives. We all have to be united on front to want the same thing, and that's to live our best life, to reach our highest self before we pass. That is the main goal. And I promise you, the little nice things that we think are the priority, which actually do help us run our lives and live a better life, like money, like, you know, having a go in a nice car and a bigger house. These things will come, but they mustn't be your priority. The priority is, how can I be good in life? How can I lead my best life? And how, if you have kids, for me, I say every morning, how can I leave a legacy for my children and my children's children so that they can have the same experience that I have? And that is my advice, is change your beliefs from selfish beliefs to giving back kindly and compassionately, and understanding that every single situation and experience is not a coincidence. It's to teach you to navigate to your highest self. It's to become the better version of you. Don't fight against it. Accept it for what it is and be prepared to look very carefully for the opportunity. One thing, I know I've rattled on there, but in the events management business, we have been pretty crippled by the COVID. And of course, I've had moments where I've really, I haven't blamed anyone. I've gone, why is this happening? What am I going to do? My family, we're going to go bankrupt. I've just started a car sales business because I was present in the challenges and looked at opportunities for me to navigate to running a new business. And I've started a car sales, and I can already forecast in the next 5 to 10 years, if the car sales is doing well, that I wouldn't have created another stream of revenue, a new opportunity in my life to have a better, lead a better life and enjoy my life if I haven't had COVID happen. So there's lots of things that can happen as a result that can teach us to be better human beings.
Brilliant, Paul. Appreciate that. I just want to touch on a few points. You know, for me, I've been pushing for quite a few years now that uncertainty is the new certainty, and everyone just has to manage their expectations and clearly understand that we have no idea of what's going to be happening, like you clearly said. So it's a complete mismanagement that people either think they have certainty in life or are looking for certainty, because it just doesn't exist. So manage your head better and say, life is completely uncertain. That's just the way it is. And so when all these things happen, it's because life is uncertain, and let's not get disorientated or upset by all those things.
Quick
And
one before you move on, because it's important that we say that life is uncertain as a negative. It's certainly not. We're just misconceiving what the uncertainty is. It's a positive. How is life exciting? How do you come across and lead your best life unless you're suddenly brought upon an experience that you were unexpectedly given? That is embracing life as a journey through uncertainty, rather than actually looking at it as a negative to for us. Because why would we be here if we knew exactly how things were going to turn out? It wouldn't be much fun. Sorry to interrupt, but that's my point.
So I'm super excited about uncertainty. I mean, I love it and embrace it, because that is what's so special about life and what makes it so great. If we already knew the Paul Clark story, well, we might as well close the book now, and that's it. It's done, because it's all laid out and there's nothing to be surprised about or enjoy. So embrace the fact that you don't know what's going to be happening next, and understand that it's an opportunity that presents itself to you. Have you got a few more minutes just so I can get through the questions?
Absolutely.
Got a long one here. Can you ask Paul? He's taken time to plan his day and his program and work every day and every month, and you communicate many things that how could maybe that where you are today in life, could it be from mentors and teachers and parents and the way you live your life? How is that all combined together? And also, can we ask that when you face financial difficulties, and this is more of a general question than specifically now, how do you manage that from a financial outlook in life? And the very last point on that, what is your goal in life, and where are you looking to take things? That's kind of like how we generally close the show anyway, asking you where you're going next, what impact do you want to have, and what message do you want to leave everyone with for the weekend to go away with in a good way. So if you can take all of that in and try and rattle through many of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so just remember that you mentioned that, you know, all the experiences, all the mentors, again, everything, because I'm awakened in my consciousness, whereas before when your brain's going 100 mile an hour and there's constant, that inner roommate's just chatting to you, firing things, you're not going to do this, you're not good enough, blah, blah, all these things. That's what anxiety and depression causes, because this inner roommate takes over. Through meditation, mindfulness, you can create space to basically evaluate consciousness as we perceive it, the opportunities, the threats, the wonders, everything that we have. And that's why I use meditation, mindfulness, and spiritualism as a result to clear the path to be able to navigate my way to a better life. But you know what? Remember, it depends if you believe that this meat sack that I'm in right now is we're all connected. It's all part of an energy in which everything is connected to the globe, to the universe. Everything is one and the same. And we were part of generations prior to that. So everything that has led to today, all those experiences, the wars, everything has led to a moment where things are better now than they ever were. We just are setting too many demands on ourselves to empower ourselves forward too quickly, project ourselves forward, because we're not happy. We want to live that life now. We're part of a bigger picture. You are part of the generations to come in hundreds and thousands of years, hopefully. And remembering that you are part of that much better picture, and you and this presentation, this engagement is no coincidence. What is the reason you're here right now? Is it to give you that fine bit of tooling that's going to help you be able to create a new life for yourself, but for generations to come? So it's part, remembering you're much wider, and it takes a lot of load off. It's not all about you. It's about everyone as a collective. The financial implications, I have found it really difficult to manage that in recovery and getting much better at it, because if I go bankrupt and I lose all my money, I generally trust that there's a reason for that. And it's not for anything else apart from the universe has a much bigger plan in store for me. And that is a difficult thing to do, to give that power, to give up and surrender myself to how life will take me. But I trust in the process. Do you know why? I was a ruthless drug addict and alcoholic in the way that I behaved. I was a poor husband, father. I was terrible to people. I fought a lot. All I cared about was myself. And now I'm generally happy. And since I gave up trying to manage my unmanageability without trying to manage my life on my own through self-will, since giving that up, my life has gone like that. So if I give everything and give everything up and surrender it and just navigate my way and enjoy every single moment, even the death of a loved one, okay, as much as it will hurt at the time and you can feel that pain, you have to go, right, what am I going to learn from this? This is part of life, this experience. I mean, that sort of death of a loved one is something that I'm really interested in, because I think that brings a higher self. That experience of passing is supposed to take us forward rather than being a negative. But again, that's another conversation. I would go into this weekend, and what you do as a result consciously from this talk, what will you do differently in order to bring about a new you or a better you? And that is the absolute key. So I've got a step book in front of me right now, which I've been putting up doing my step 5 for a long time. But I'm doing it because I have to do the work. You still have to do the work. It won't do itself. But think about where that's going to take you on your journey. Any positive reaffirmation, any positive step work that you do in yourself, like looking into mindfulness and meditation, practicing meditation every day. I have to do it for 20 to 30 minutes because it gives me the space to be able to live my best life daily. Stop thinking into the future, start living in the present moment, being conscious to your decisions, being conscious with 3 things. And these are the things that I will leave you with. Love is all there is, and that isn't just a Beatles song. I think it was a Beatles song. Love is all there is, because it is, right? If we could spread love as fast as we spread negative content, information, bitching, sniping, all that, if we could spread love as fast as we spread that, this world would be a better place, and it'll be a better place for you right now, and it'll be a better place for people in the future. The second thing is living by compassion, being compassionate to everything that happens. Live with gratitude is number 3. And I'll add another 4th. I'll say kindness. In every situation, give yourself the space in when you feel you're being harmed, to be kinder. And I promise, what you put out into this world, you'll get back in return. So you put out negativity, you put out bitchiness, sniping, but all this kind of stuff, you will get that back twofold. But if you switch your principles and focus on the love, compassion, kindness, and gratitude, the world will start to work in your favor. I guarantee you, because I couldn't stop doing the behaviors that I had until I brought this stuff on board. Life will always happen around you, but you are in control of how you gain a new perspective. I think that's pretty much it, if that's all right.
Brilliant, amazing, like truly amazing. Just want to share with you some people's comments, so you can also go away in a good place from this session. Wow, I can see by listening to you, Paul, you've been through a lot and you have so much to give. Paul, I get a really positive vibe from you. Good luck with everything in the future. Paul, you're going a really long way. I see this is just the beginning for you, and good luck on your journey. Paul, I mean, even, you know, you've just touched on really the real basics and the beginnings of a fascinating life. But even within 35 plus minutes, you've opened up so many situations that I think everyone can resonate to in some way, shape, or form. And if everyone goes home this weekend with the thought of, you know, empathy, compassion, kindness, gratitude, and we can bring those, the best version of ourselves, into life, like Paul has kindly shared with us, I think, and agree that the rewards of being happy and fulfilled and living a better life will come everyone's way. Paul, you've been amazing. Yeah, you know, thank you so much for sharing your time, your story, your journey. It's been great. Thank you to everyone who's listening live or on all of the platforms. Another edition, hashtag askrobco. We are here for you. We want to help you. Happiness, positivity, give you a good vibe. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Listen to everything Paul said. He's really set you on a good path this weekend. And we will see you all at the same time, same place next week, Friday, 1 p.m. Paul, you've been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Thank you.